our base case is 650,000, but that base case was set before the SEC approved the Bitcoin ETFs. We are more convinced now that our bull case of 1.5 million by 2030. Bitcoin is backed by the largest computer network in the world, and therefore it is the safest cryptocurrency or crypto asset out there. It has not been hacked. The base layer has not been hacked. I don't think any other crypto asset can say that.
Bitcoin briefly surged past $62,000 after opening at $61,600 on August 23rd, following Fed Chair Jerome Powell's statement that time has come to lower interest rates. This surprising move sparked renewed interest in Bitcoin as a hedge against market volatility and inflation. Although these developments present a positive outlook, Bitcoin's path to new highs could be unpredictable due to potential regulatory hurdles and market volatility, requiring investors to remain cautiously optimistic. In line with this cautious optimism, Cathie Wood recently shared her bullish outlook on Bitcoin, projecting a base case of $650,000 and a bull case of $1.5 million by 2030. Despite short-term volatility, she emphasized Bitcoin's importance in emerging markets and its significant growth potential. Her insights provide a valuable perspective on the future of Bitcoin, encouraging investors to look beyond the present moment and focus on the asset's vast potential. Watch clips from the interview for further insights into Cathie Wood's interview. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more content. Enjoy the video.
Why do you think that older people are less receptive to Bitcoin, like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, so against it? And it seems like young people love it.
Yeah.
Anyone over the age of 50, for the most part, either they don't know about it or they're very skeptical. Why do you think that is?
I think partly it's technology, that there's discomfort. You know, Warren Buffett famously has said, if I don't understand it and I don't understand most technology, I'm not going to invest in it. Now, he did invest in IBM kind of at the wrong time. So that proved, to reinforce what he was saying. However, he didn't give up. He did invest in Apple, and that's been, a grand slam for him. So, but very little interest in technology, and a lot of people pay attention to him, especially more value-oriented investors, where, in technology, you've got very often you have to invest aggressively. A company has to invest aggressively in the short term, forgo short-term profitability in order to be able to scale longer term in this new technology. Value stocks tend to be, what you see is what you get immediately. So there's a little bit more faith in the future, I would say, when it comes to tech investing. And, I'm certainly over 50 and, I'm all about technology. So a bit of maybe an exception there. But I do think there's just a general discomfort, especially because they lived through the tech and telecom bubble and bust. And they weren't looking at it with the perspective I just shared with you, which is, okay, these seeds were planted back then. They weren't ready. And so if you weren't doing the kind of research we're doing in terms of trying to figure out when technologies are ready for prime time, then they were going to get hurt. And a lot of people did get hurt back then. And so that's a memory. Losing money is painful. It's, I know there are studies, you probably know the studies, where it's much more painful to lose money than it is enjoyable to make money.
I think the risk reward on that was the gain of $1 was equivalent to like the loss of $2. So the loss feels twice as worse as like gaining $1.
Yes. The third way to think of Bitcoin. So we've got technology, global monetary system, and a new asset class, which is why we are really excited. And the ARC 21 shares Bitcoin ETF is a good example We have enjoyed tremendous inflows. And I'd like to think it is because we wrote our first piece on Bitcoin in 2014. We've earned our stripes. We had our first white paper with Art Laffer, Could Bitcoin Serve the Three Roles of Money? That was 2015. And then we wrote our second white paper, Bitcoin, Ringing the Bell for a New Asset Class. That was 2016. And finally, the SEC approved earlier this year a Bitcoin or many Bitcoin ETFs. So we think institutions have not moved very aggressively thus far into Bitcoin. Why? It's because they need to do their due diligence. They need to, we've spent 10 years doing this, so we're very comfortable. If you look at BlackRock, for example, until I'm going to say 3 years ago, BlackRock was pointing to the negatives associated with Bitcoin. And then, of course, there was the conversion. And fantastic. I think BlackRock has done a lot for this movement of Bitcoin into a new asset class, but we've barely begun on that.
Wood thinks there is a greater chance of a bull case now that the SEC has approved Bitcoin ETFs. According to Wood, Bitcoin has reached a singularity, a state in which it cannot be stopped or contained, and its widespread use in developing economies makes it an essential safeguard against unstable economies. Although Bitcoin corrections can be quite severe, they are becoming less drastic as the asset gains maturity. As Bitcoin gains more traction, its volatility is expected to significantly decrease. Wood also discussed the potential dangers of quantum computing, emphasizing that recognizing the issue is half the battle, and expressing confidence that researchers are working on solutions to resist quantum threats. The good news is that Wood maintains a positive outlook on Bitcoin, highlighting its importance in emerging markets and its potential for growth. While short-term volatility is possible, she advises investors to adopt a long-term perspective. Let's go back to the interview and watch more clips to gain insights from Cathie Wood.
What price targets do you have for Bitcoin? Everyone loves this.
Yes, we are in print. Our base case is 650,000, but that base case was set before the SEC approved the Bitcoin ETFs. And so we are more convinced now that our bull case of 1.5 million by 2030 is the more likely case.
Do you think Bitcoin is currently a singularity, or do you think it will be that in the future, and when will that be?
So when you say singularity as it relates to Bitcoin, what do you mean?
Like you can't contain it at a certain point.
Oh, I think we've passed escape velocity. There's no way to shut Bitcoin down. And China tried, and all the activity that was in China just migrated. There's no oversight. There's no throat to choke, and it has proliferated to such an extent and is serving a really important role, especially in emerging markets, where people, of various countries, if their leaders either don't understand economics or there's corruption, and they lose purchasing power and wealth, to the tune of 50% in a very short period of time. Even this year, Egypt, I think it was the beginning of March, devalued the Egyptian pound by 40%. And so having an insurance policy like Bitcoin is really important in emerging markets.
So the bear case for Bitcoin isn't even that it could just go nowhere, but that it will 20x in 5 years.
I mean, you've seen the corrections are violent because it is so early and so young. The corrections used to be 95%. Now they're more like 75%. That's a lot. So I don't want anyone to think that it's straight up and to the right, because the corrections are pretty violent. They're getting less so. And I think as Bitcoin moves more into mainstream investing, the volatility will go down dramatically. So it's not like we're saying it won't go down. It will. It's a new asset class, and there are a lot of, I would say, weak holders. They get in because of FOMO, so fear of missing out, and then they lose 20%, and then they get out. They cut their losses. So that exacerbates moves down. So there is one thing that the Bitcoin community is watching, and that is quantum computing. But as I always say, when it comes to risks, half of the solution is understanding the problem. And so now developers are thinking in terms of quantum proofing. So I think that is something we should consider seriously. And I am happy that the developers are considering it seriously.
Bitcoin price frustration may soon find some relief as Bitcoin traders grow hopeful that the Federal Reserve will solidify interest rate cuts at the upcoming Jackson Hole Summit. Meanwhile, Bitcoin continues to trade within a tightening range, with $62,000 serving as a critical resistance level. Data from CoinGlass shows that a new block of sell orders appeared at $61,435, keeping the price stable. On the 4-hour chart, traders observed that Bitcoin is attempting to break through resistance at the 200-period simple moving average. A close above this level, and Bitcoin will pump to $64,000 to $65,000. If it gets rejected, expect some consolidation, predicted popular trader Elja in a recent post. At the same time, Cathie Wood has addressed why some older investors remain hesitant about Bitcoin, attributing it to their experiences with the tech bubble and subsequent financial losses, which have fostered a more risk-averse mindset. In contrast, younger investors are more receptive to Bitcoin, viewing it as a promising new asset class, a global monetary system, and a groundbreaking technology. Wood also highlighted that institutions are slowly warming up to Bitcoin, as evidenced by significant inflows into Bitcoin ETFs, signaling increasing mainstream acceptance. As Bitcoin navigates its current price challenges, its growing adoption by both retail and institutional investors suggests a strong foundation for future growth. As we conclude, what are your thoughts on this interview? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and hit your thumbs on the like button. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.